So saying it's not the result we wanted, but it's probably the best vibes I've felt post a loss all year. In case you don't know, my name's Woody. Jake's got me on to discuss some of the standout stats each week. So let's get into this week's Moorabbin metrics. As always, we'll get straight into the Man of the Match award, but I will say we're going to do a slightly different episode this week. First up, I'll be absolutely stunned if anybody suggests anyone but Darcy Wilson, getting 5 goals, 23 disposals with 10 score involvements, 2 score assists. He looked like our most dangerous player in the forward half. He also got 5 inside 50s, 5 intercept possessions, 4 marks with one of them inside 50 and 2 tackles, a clearance and 355 metres gained. So obviously he's not going to get those 5 goals every week, but if he can consistently hit the board and set up his teammates, be an effective link in chains, between him and Max Hall, we might have finally found some solutions to our inside 50 problems that have been plaguing us not only this year, but in seasons past too. Getting on to others I thought played well, considering I've mentioned him already, I thought Max Hall had another good game, getting 2 goals, 16 disposals with 6 score involvements, 5 tackles, 4 marks with 2 inside 50 and 1 contested, 23 pressure acts with 15 of them in the forward half, which was the second most behind only Higo. With so much optimism for the future, I'll stick with the youth for a moment, and I thought Boxall played an amazing game. Getting 16 disposals with 3 score involvements and 2 score launches, 6 marks with 3 of them being intercept marks, 5 intercept possessions in general, 2 tackles, a clearance. I mean, he looked comfortable at AFL level, and while the stats might not jump off the page, like we said about Wilson, if he can keep developing, we might have found a player. Another one that stood out to me was St Kilda, getting 13 disposals with 5 score involvements, only the 1 goal as one of his shots ended up being a goal assist to Collard, 3 marks with 1 of them being contested. I mean, to me, the lad just looked bigger, and sometimes that can hinder a player like Keeler with their athletic attributes, but to me, it appeared to help his contested efforts without taking away his speed and agility. While none of Collard, Travalia or Taru really jumped off the stat sheet, I thought all of them played their roles reasonably well and have a lot of potential going forward. We'll smash through the team stats. We got beaten in every one of the disposal stats, including the contested and uncontested possessions, which explains the numbers from time in possession. Though I do know some will attribute the final 10 minutes to external factors, but the less said about them, the better. We had less turnovers than our season average. That being said, the Giants had fewer turnovers than us. We did better than the Giants and our season average for disposal efficiency, which was a nice change. Likewise, we had more inside 50s than our season average, our opponent, and kept them below their season average too. However, they did have their best return for shots per inside 50 for the year. We did reasonably well in the aerial contests. We lost the overall marks and marks per inside 50. However, we did level the contested marks, and both the marks per inside 50 and contested marks were above our season average. But we let the Giants do the same. If we look at the stoppages, we can see the Giants got on top of us from the hit-out, which led to their overall clearance dominance. Most of that came from centre, but we did win the around-the-ground stoppages. Finally, looking at the defensive stats, we didn't win the overall tackles, but we over doubled the Giants for tackles inside 50 and won the 1%ers fairly convincingly. So with the season done now, it certainly feels a bit redundant to go over potential improvements from game footage, so let's go over some of the end-of-year numbers. We finished the year averaging 89 ground ball gets, which was the 6th most for the 2025 AFL season, and our opposition averaged the least amount of ground ball gets, getting 77.7, which gave us the greatest differential in the league, with an average of 11.3 more than our opponent. While we didn't perform well in terms of hitouts, we were the worst in terms of hitouts to first hand with minus 192. However, we were the best in terms of hitout sharked with a positive 120. In terms of player performances, Nazai passed Robert Harvey for the most disposals by a Saint in a home and away season with 688. However, that was when there was only 22 matches in a season, so if Harves had played another game, he would have had about 714. But that just goes to show you what sort of company Nazai was in this year. He had the most metres gained in a home and away season with 15,041. However, he fell just short of beating Daniel Rich's record of 15,132, which included finals. It was a similar story for metres gained per match, where he now has the second best recorded season with 654 metres gained per, sitting behind only Aaron Hall with 659.1. There was a fair bit of talk around Jack McRae at the start of the year, so it seems a fitting time to see how he went. Jack was the 4th Saint in the AFL era to record over 500 disposals in his first season with the club. As of recording, he is 9th in the league for contested possession, 6th for ground ball gets, 7th for first hands to the ball in a stoppage, with over 75% of them turning into a clearance. He's 4th for stoppage clearances, 34th for centre clearances, and 9th for overall clearances. He's in the top 80 players for score launches with 1.5 a game, and was in the top 60 for score involvement percentages, with over a quarter of his disposals involved in a scoring chain. In my opinion, Jack Macrae held up his end of the bargain, and hopefully he can impart some of his expertise upon our less experienced mids such as Naz, Windy, Garcia, Boxall, and the rest of them. Jack Higgins was another that I thought deserved a mention. With 73 shots on goal for 46 goals and 17 behinds, he had the most goals of his career and the most accurate season in front of the sticks. With 118 score involvements as well, he ended up with the 6th most for us in that regard. And while I'm on the Jacks, Captain Jack Steele started the year slowly, but found his defensive prowess in the back half of the season. He finished the year equal second for tackles per match, 17th for average pressure acts, 13th for defensive half pressure acts, and 18th for ground ball gets. Speaking of our defensive leaders, Wilkie had another impressive season. Despite losing his 2 defensive companions in battle to Hawthorn and Howard to injury, he finished the year with the most marks in the league with 194. He was 16th for intercept possessions, 25 for rebound 50s, and 5th for defensive one-on-one contested wins. While I had more to say about players like Windy, Sinclair, Max Hall, Garcia, and many others, I again feel like I'm forced to do a bit of a rewrite because as I was finishing up, the news broke that Tom De Koning has informed the Carlton Football Club of his intention to join us next year. So, while I was going to avoid any stats that weren't positive, as I didn't want to be a buzzkill, to understand why TDK's inclusion will be massive for us, we kind of got to go over some of them. We have the lowest amount of hitouts per match with 32.5, and our opposition have an average of 48.8, giving us the worst differential at minus 13.3. We sit last for hitouts to advantage, getting just 8 per match, and while our opposition averaged the 3rd most, getting 11.4. This leaves us with the 2nd worst differential of minus 3.2, and while we aren't bad in terms of ruck hardball gets, sitting just 0.5 below the AFL average, on average our opposition gets the most with 4.4, meaning we sit, in terms of differential, equal last with Essendon on minus 1.9. Now, this isn't to say Roma is bad at everything to do with ruck work. I've mentioned how we have learned to shark the opposition ruck earlier. Roma and his mids have also learned to stop the opposition sharking our rucks. So to clarify that, for those that don't know, a sharked hit-out is defined as a hit-out that directly results in the opposition getting first hands. We have about 18% of our hit-outs sharked. However, we shark about 29% of all our first hands from the opposition. So I'm going to quote Emmeline, better known as Credit to Dubois here, in saying, Marshall doesn't win hit-outs much, but he's pretty good at negating his opponent's ability to get a hit-out to advantage, which I think is a pretty bang-on assessment. Also, big shout-out to Emmeline for getting the shark numbers. Go check out their website for more in-depth numbers. I'll get Jake to link it too, but this year, from everybody who's attended the same number of ruck contests as TDK or more, De Koning has the 3rd highest hit-out to advantage rate, behind only Madden and Teakle, who played less than 5 matches and generally went against backup rucks. So essentially, I think TDK is a more offensive ruck option than Roma, but having Rowan there to back De Koning up and provide a different option if an opposition's ruck is gaining the ascendancy is just a good thing. Besides, not only will Marshall help TDK, but he now has the offseason to work on his forward craft and be the second foil to a hopefully healthy Max King. Also, think about how well Naz did reading the opposition ruck, and now imagine what he could do if he knows where the ball is going. I mean, we have a ton to be excited about, Saints. Personally, I hope the rumours are true and that we land Alir, Ryan, I don't know, more people. With healthy years from King and Pooh as well. There's a potential NGA in Fincher that looks all right. And then there's our first round draft pick, which, I mean, if a good mid was available to help Naz, I'd be happy to move that on and more. We found some diamonds in the rough recently, later in the draft, so I'd be happy for the team to do that again. I'd back him. But that about sums up the major stats for the week and the year. If you want to see more of my face, I've got my own channel at Wooden Spoon Data. I've got a bunch of end-of reviews. Got a bunch of end-of-year reviews coming soon, so go subscribe, all that. I'm terrible at this part. But yeah, I want to give a big thank you to Jake for having me and letting me do Marabometrics this year. It's been a ton of fun. I know I say it every week, but I want to thank everybody who's watched, be it your first time today or if you've been watching every week. And I won't be back next week, but I promise I'll be back next year. Thanks again, everyone. Go Saints.